Good morning. I don't want to disturb these ducks, so I'm going to give them a wide perimeter, but they're so cute. It's 3 bachelors and a lady. You're a lucky lady. Bye, guys. All right. So, let me turn this around for a second. I can't even see. I'm just going to talk. Join me for a little rambling session. I'm just going to tell you what I'm going to talk about in this video so that then you can decide if you want to commit 25 minutes to listening. In this video, I talk about the opportunity that will be starting as of August 11th. Oh, there's people. With the pause on the Statute of Limitations in the state of New York and what that potentially means for people everywhere, since the Watchtower is stationed in New York. I'm also going to talk a little bit about a conversation I had with the wonderful Barbara Anderson and people getting their stories out there and more exposure, just like the Me Too movement. I also talk a little bit about another great conversation I had with Goat-like Personality and Jonas, what he is doing as far as human rights are concerned. And of course, in my usual style, I talk about some other stuff. Have a great day. Thanks. And before you get to my rambling, I just thought I would share this moment from nature, coming to you from Wisconsin on a river. A duck. So pretty. And the lighthouse.
Hello. Yesterday was a very exciting and interesting day, and I kind of just want to ramble a little bit and collect my thoughts and share it with anybody who cares to come along for the ride and the journey. And maybe if you hear this video, it will spark an idea in you. Like, you never know. I never know where this conversation is going to land. And perhaps plant a seed that isn't even about me, but it will turn into something beautiful for someone else, like the butterfly effect. I believe in stuff like that. Quantum physics. And so I'm gonna take a little walk and clear my head, but before I do that, good morning. I think I need my sunglasses. The sun has risen. S-O-N and S-U-N. Okay. So yesterday was an unexpected, very pleasant surprise. And everybody's gonna just stare at each other at the stop sign. Last couple weeks, I kind of fell into a slump. The last slew of videos I posted were about, Allie, get to the point. I was seeing a therapist because I wanted help with self-discipline, especially when it comes to areas like self-care, eating, working out, because it's just like, I feel like I am not where I should be. And then I'll tell everyone else, don't should on yourself, but this is what I do to myself all the time. So, yeah. Isn't that funny how we all do that? And I saw this therapist twice. Whoa. And I'm paying her $2.50 a minute. And at the end of 2 sessions, what I came away with was join a gym. Duh. And don't drink alcohol for 30 days. Duh. Great. Yeah, of course. So yeah, it's time for me to discontinue this expensive relationship with that particular therapist. And I'm sure that she has other clients who absolutely get exactly what they need from her. But I wasn't getting what I needed from her at the speed I needed it from her, because I don't have insurance, and it's like, all right, let's, this is not about us being best friends. Like, give me the tools and I'll go apply it. And thank you very much. So yeah, it is what it is. So I am seeing a different therapist later this morning. And I actually met her through the XJW underground community. And she's a great lady. I've posted her Patreon link in my other videos, but I will post it again. But she has some amazing training in some rather new technology fields of reprogramming your brain, because it's all about our brains. Just like our body gets like a virus or a parasite and we go to a specialist to help us clean it out, the same thing happens with our minds. We pick up a message or we observe a repeated behavior when we're a child, and it becomes a pathway, and then it's about living from awareness and conscious choice, but so often we're just on this subconscious autopilot. Thank you for putting up with my speech. So the conversation yesterday that happened, let me just get to the point. Oh, the sunrise is beautiful. I can't see anything, but woo. Whoa, this is a little too much lighting. Okay, let me have some eye contact with you. Number one, I like looking at patterns because it's when you can see the pattern that it's like helpful and getting through like this maze. I'm so nasally this morning, this maze of life. Because life is, you see patterns everywhere in nature. Ooh, and I learned a new thing from my friend Amber, who is doing a session with me later today. The meaning of the word, so I'm stealing this from her, the meaning of the word nature or natural. And I'm going to botch this one too, but all means pertaining to or of. And nature has like an Egyptian root. I'm sorry, I just have to put on sunglasses. This is just not working for me. I'll try. Natural, of pertaining to all. Natur is Egyptian for spiritual. Isn't that interesting? Because I always know I feel connected to the living God when I am in nature. Oh, which is what I'm about to do right now, is take a walk next to Lake Michigan. It's so pretty today. And so that was an interesting tidbit for the day. Number 2, Barbara Anderson. Wow. And I'll be the first to admit that I do not spend hardly any time. Maybe I've only gone on it a handful of times and not recently at all. On her website, which I believe is SCARS, SCARRS. I don't know if it's .com or .org, but I will put the link to that below in this video. But a couple months ago or a month ago, she did a phenomenal interview with Fifth, XJW Cliff, the Fifth. And he's so good at interviewing. And I could just listen to her speak for hours and hours and hours. This lady has like one of the sharpest memories ever. And I know many of us here have read the book Crisis of Conscience. So imagine if Ray Franz were still alive in the flesh on this earth right now today. We'd all be banging on his door asking to just sit around and have coffee with him and just like hear him, because he's helped so many of us, because he documented everything and didn't make anything about himself. But he was he cared about other people so much when he was in the organization, and of course after he was, because that's who he was at his core. He cared about people. And he documented it all and took the time out of his life. He could have been doing other things. He could have been like globetrotting and retired, golfing, whatever. And instead he chose to spend his days on this planet helping others unravel their own messy indoctrination and brainwashing. So in a way, he's like, it's like getting exit counseling by reading a book, because it helps you see that this thing happened to you, that has happened to many, many people that have come before us, and sadly will continue to happen to some people after us. But I think that legacy is dwindling each and every day. The more we expose the light to this darkness that exists in that organization and all the cults. Speaking of like just saying very matter-of-factly, oh yeah, that's a cult. I have this really, really kind, like when you meet a person and you're just like, that person is good. It's like that 3-second first impression, and you just know, like you feel safe enough to let this person be in your house when you're not in it, etc. So I have this person doing a bathroom project, and he's from the country of Laos in Southeast Asia. It's by Thailand. And there's a lot of Laotian or Hmong people in the community where I live because they got displaced here during the Vietnam War and afterwards. Anyway, he's so nice. We were just having like a casual conversation in my house while he was letting some... I don't need to tell these details. Why do I like get distracted? Well, he was letting some tile mud dry, and I don't even remember how we got onto the conversation, but I mentioned, that's how, he's like, what do you do all day? Because I was around the house during the day, because I work nights at the restaurant. And I said to him, well, I YouTube and I make videos, and I'm also on the phone a lot with people who, need some help or direction or ideas on where to go and get help, whether it's, talking about finding a lawyer or whatever. Because before I forget, starting August 11th, and there's a guy on Twitter, and I forgot his name, but I'll put his link below also. But I'm sure you've all heard, I shouldn't assume, maybe you don't know, about the law that was passed in the state of New York here in the United States, that starting August 11th, the statute of limitations is basically put on hold for a year. So anyone who was abused as a child and they're outside of that window of statute of limitations, which I believe is when you turn 37, you no longer have the opportunity to prosecute. Well, that is being paused starting August 11th. So this means that anyone out there who is outside that window of statute of limitations, they have an opportunity right now, not only for their own civil lawsuit, but perhaps joining or creating a class action lawsuit, because it's things like that actually change laws, because it makes the media pay attention when there's like a really big number. Because it's not about, even when things like the Australian Royal Commission were going on, I was having conversations with active witnesses, and some of them would say in their ignorance, they weren't saying it from a bad place. It was just, you hear things and then you take it in and it becomes part of your subconscious and you just blurt it out with even really thinking about it. But they would say things like, oh, these victims just want money. Or, no, I mean, it does take money to repair the damage something like that causes, i.e. therapy. Perhaps the person is so traumatized and has so much PTSD that they really can't even function at a job. So they deserve compensation because they have a disability because of something that happened to them and was actually exacerbated by this religion. So I'm telling Moon, this tile guy, that I'm on the phone a lot during the day with people, just trying to collaborate, and I said, because I came out of a cult. And he said, oh, which one? And I said, oh, the Jehovah's Witness. And he's like, yeah, like the Mormons. And he listed off a couple other cults, like just very, very matter-of-factly. And I'm like, without judgment, it was just like, yeah, that's a cult. And I'm like, everybody else knows that it's a cult. Why didn't I? but it was actually, I don't know, in that moment, because I've had that like moment with several other people where they're just like, yeah, that's a cult. Just very matter-of-factly. Kind of like when you know a certain restaurant on the block has like a rat problem, but you've been eating there your whole life, and everybody else is like, yeah, they have rats. So because of like, I'm trying to help some people get their story out there, because a few months ago I made a video telling people, share your story, because the more people who put their story out there, the more these organizations cannot continue to ignore us. Just like the Me Too movement, it's like the more noise there is, the more it cannot be ignored. The squeaky wheel does get the oil. Is that how that goes? And just like these women in Hollywood who came forward about these perverts, it's like, you know, one woman comes forward, it's like, two women, maybe 30 women, 40 women. Like, look at the Bill Cosby case. Like, the more people who have the courage to come forward, and if you haven't come forward, that doesn't mean you don't have courage. That is not what I'm saying. Everyone is where they are, doing the best that they can with what they have. So no judgment. And the name, so I'm talking to somebody else, like, who can I go to that's I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I guess that's another thing I'm saying. Like, this is not about, did I even record? Okay. I'm like, I've been talking. Did I even hit record? So I don't need to reinvent the wheel. And so if there's, you know, like why Amazon is so easy for shopping, even though it's taking over the world and killing small businesses. But the reason why we all use it is because it's a one-stop shop. You go on, you read the reviews, even though even that's becoming fake news. Everything just gets like, whatever, that's a whole, see, this is what my brain is doing. Focus. So is there someone else, or is there another platform that does it far better than I do or can, that has more exposure, that has a bigger microphone? Because this isn't about me. Like, I want to help, but I'm just a person with a very small microphone, although I'm very grateful for the microphone you all have allowed me to have. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Barbara Anderson is an amazing lady, and like Ray Franz, her generation isn't going to be around indefinitely. And so these people who are gifts in women, gifts in men, and that's a whole other topic that doesn't even mean what we were told it means, but anyway, need to be supported and used while they are here, if they're offering themselves. And she is. This lady is working so hard. And I said to her, what can I do to help you? And she's like, quit your jobs, come down here and be my personal assistant, because she just has mountains and mountains of paperwork and documents to go through, and she's on the phone with people all the time, listening to their stories so that she can put it out there, so that the reality of what has happened to people in the Jehovah's Witness organization, just like the other groups, like, it's not unique or special. Like, that was a whole other thing we had to realize, like, wow, this movement that we were a part of, the being a Jehovah's Witness, is nothing new. It's just 2.0 of the Second Adventist movement, the Millerites in 1844, blah, 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 blah. And we thought we were part of something unique and special, and we weren't, but we were. And that was the interesting point that she made, is remember how we were very proud, and rightfully so, we were proud of how the Jehovah's Witness, the Watchtower, the society as it used to be called, would take cases all the way up to the Supreme Court level to fight for human rights. Human rights. That is the key phrase here, and this is going to tie into another phenomenal conversation I had with Jonas from one of my favorite channels ever, Goat Like Personality. His channel needs to blow up more because he has a very, very important message in between the cute goat videos and funny personal experiences. But the point is, is that the Watchtower and their large army of lawyers were good at one thing, and that was influencing laws at the Supreme Court level. Well, now they don't even practice what they preached and what they fought for at the law level, the law of the land. And they need to be called out for that, for their own good and for the community's good at large, to protect the next generation, the children. Because every child that gets either harmed because of abuse or baptized before their prefrontal cortex, before their brain is even able to comprehend what sort of commitment they're making, because it is a human right to be able to choose your religion and also unchoose or change your religion. Is that practiced in these cults? Of course not, especially not with Jehovah's Witnesses. I am a testimony of that. I am a marked apostate because I chose to no longer participate in the religion of Jehovah's Witnesses, even though I still believe in God and all the other stuff. That doesn't even matter. And so I'm at the very beginning right now. Like, this is day 1 of offering myself in whatever way I can to help this movement, but actually putting energies into where it will get the biggest return. And and so then I had another brief conversation with Jonas from Goat Like Personality channel, and I really appreciated how he emphasized. So I'm just simply repeating what he said. This is not my idea. I'm not taking credit for any of this. That he knows what he's doing. Like the protest that they had in, I'm sorry, was it Copenhagen or Stockholm? I apologize, but they protested respectfully with signs that said #all religions must, because the focus is on human rights. And if there are these religions operating under charitable status, 501c3, and getting all these tax-free benefits, but they're not practicing human rights, they need to be called out, because they're not only hurting people, but they're like sucking the government via not paying taxes. And just like Scientology, that whole thing, like, it needs to be called out. So he was talking about collaborating and it not just being about Jehovah's Witnesses, and how we need to listen to others who are doing the same work if they're from other organizations, i.e. the Mormons. And I like how he called them our cult cousins. And the idea is in the works about having a protest based on the platform of human rights in Warwick, perhaps at the Supreme Court, like Washington, D.C., maybe New York City, and or Utah, where the Mormon headquarters are, so that the media sees that this is real. Like, this is real. It needs attention, because we can all do better. When you know better, you do better. And we all, like, if you're watching this channel and you watch other XJW channels, you've done your research. You now know better, and so you're able to do better. But what about all the other people who don't? And it's getting streamlined. And it's like, for example, I've been in communication with people who've like just woken up, like a couple months ago, and like they're waking up very quickly because they have all these testimonies and stories and books and websites, where they can do their research because it's all right there. It's like a one-stop shop. Like one of the best one-stop shops, of course, is jwfacts.com, because Paul Grundy collected, organized, and presented all this information where you can just get it all right there. So Barbara Anderson is committed to sharing people's stories on her website, Scars. And so rather than like sharing your story with me, although I will continue to present people's stories who would like it presented in audio form, I will still do that for people, but that's another place. And as I get more clarity and information about this whole August 11th, 2019 New York State pause on the statute of limitations for child sex abuse, I will share what I know in my very layman terms, because I have no legal department education. I'm just, like I said, layman. And there was one other thing I was going to say, but I forgot, so I guess it doesn't need to be said. So with that, I'm going to go take a walk. I hope you have a great day. Self-care, that's what I'm working on, putting my oxygen mask on first, so I have the ability to help others put theirs on if they're passed out, because other people in my life, my friends, have put oxygen masks on me when I'm passed out. It's just about helping each other, but from a real place, not being like the pizza delivery person who's like dropping off pizzas that have rat poison in them, you know. That was kind of a weird illustration. Thanks for listening. Going together far. That's what we're doing.